So I just watched a 2017 horror movie with James Franco, The Institute, and it's kind of like Showgirls in the sense that it has a really bad rating on IMDb, but that's actually because, well, it's because James Franco's acting is very wooden. But that's intentional because it's part of the message, and it's it's in that sense it's also kind of like Showgirls. It has a story on the surface. It's even a little deeper than Showgirls. Showgirls just has an underlying message that a lot of people don't get, and therefore they think it's a bad movie. But the Institute doesn't just have an underlying message. The underlying message is so sick. So there is so much of an underlying message that it's almost no longer an underlying message. It's almost becomes a separate second story that a lot of people don't. I don't think I haven't seen anyone mention that. So I guess a lot of people just haven't seen that underlying theme and underlying message at all. So therefore they think it's a bad movie. So I wanna explain that real fast. The story on the surface is, your typical horror movie story. It's a 19th century, insane asylum. And, there's this woman, and she discovers that the insane asylum, well, there's some insane stuff going on in the insane asylum, and it's not just the patients. Yeah, so typical horror movie story there. She discovers a lot of dark stuff going on there, right? So that's the story on the surface, though. Because actually, the movie also says, like, right in the beginning, it says based on a true story. It's very loosely based on a true story, taking a lot of artistic freedoms there. Because, they have all kinds of stuff in there, like satanic cults and stuff, and so I'm pretty sure it wasn't the way they're portraying it. But there's the second story. It's also very loosely based on a true story, and that isn't set in the 19th century at all. It's basically a commentary on Hollywood, but it's very there is some very interesting, some very deep stuff in there, and it's actually very much in your face. So I'm surprised that even though they were like hiding it in such plain sight, that no one seemed to see that. So it's very obvious when you watch the movie. She's in an insane asylum, right? But the patients aren't called patients; they're called actors, and she's called the star. So it's actually very much obvious, very much in your face. It's not about insane people at all. Or maybe it is about insane. Maybe the message is that all of Hollywood is insane. It's basically one big insane asylum. But it's really very obvious the entire time. She's always referred to as an actress, even though it doesn't make any sense in the story, and as an aspiring star, and to become that aspiring star, which in the surface story doesn't make any sense because she's not aspiring to be a star or an actress at all in the surface story, right? but to become that aspiring star, she has to make some sacrifices. There's some dark stuff going on there. Like drug abuse. It's all kind of hinted at, but it's there. Drug abuse, and she's basically selling her body to the producers, and her soul to the devil, more or less. Well, both literally and figuratively, I guess. And that kind of stuff. So it's a commentary on the film industry, really, and the dark aspects, the dark aspects of it. So I think if you watch it in that light, you'll discover a lot of things like that and commentary in that light. You might even take it a step further and, go all conspiracy theory on it. And, because this was in 2017, you could, there were some scandals that happened in 2017. There were also some scandals that happened before 2017. And there were some scandals in the making that were only discovered after 2017. And you could also argue that it was addressing some of those scandals. I'm sure some of those scandals actually did serve as somewhat of an inspiration for it, yes, I guess. But I'm not going to go into those specifics or mention the names of those scandals, because then it gets to conspiracy theory, and which is basically, conspiracy theories is basically, the modern day lunatic. If once you go down that path, no one takes you serious. So I'm not gonna do that. But watch it in light of what I hinted at, and I think you'll be able to discover a lot of interesting social commentary on the state of Hollywood.